Okay, we're recording. So, hi everyone. My name is Aisling Murray. I am leash play therapy based here in Port Town in the middle of Ireland. I am joined today by Camilla Miller. Camilla is the founder or the owner of Keeping It Cool Parenting. She is based in West Sussex in the United Kingdom. She is also a teacher, a parenting coach, and she's the only authorized coach for the Language of Listening program. My favorite book of Say What You See, you have it too,
Mine
yeah, you
too.
do, by Sandra Blackard. This book, I can guarantee to every parent, it is a Bible. It's so thin, it'll be read in 2 evenings, and you will just get so much gold from this. So, Camilla is going to share with us a little bit about her journey and a bit about her parent coaching and about the Language of Listening book. So, thank you for joining, Camilla.
Oh, thank you so much for having me.
Lovely,
Thank you for having
lovely.
me.
So, just share with us, I suppose, your journey. We did have a discussion about this before, so I'd like to share with that to the audience as well.
Yes, definitely. I'd love to share. So my son is now 14 and my daughter is 11. And when my son was born, he was the most easiest, compliant, laid back kind of guy that I thought I was the most epic parent because I didn't really have to question my parenting skills. And he never had tantrums. He did as he was told. And I think when we raise children that are more compliant, we don't really question our parenting and whether it's working in the way we think it is. And then my daughter was born, and it was like, bam, this explosiveness. She was like the naught, she's like what I call the 0 to 60 kind of kids. You know, when everything is calm and peaceful, and then all of a sudden it's just like chaos at home, and the tantrums would take over family life, and the whining and the moaning. And I just felt oh so out of control as a parent. I thought that I was getting it wrong, and I thought there was something wrong with me, that I wasn't doing it right because I was told. I don't know about you, but when I was with my own parents and with people around me, it was just, you just need to be firmer, you need to, show who's boss. And none of that worked, and it left me feeling miserable, like I got it wrong, going to bed feeling guilty because I was shouting too much, and it left her feeling miserable. And I used to think, if only my daughter would listen, I wouldn't have to shout. I was really in that frame of mind. And she was thinking, I'm sure she was thinking, if only my mummy didn't shout, I would listen. We were like stuck in this cycle. And going to bed feeling guilty that there was something wrong with me or something wrong with my daughter. And I like thinking at the time, guilt is, especially as a parent, is so overwhelming. We feel like we've got it wrong. And for me, that guilt was started spurring me on, thinking there has to be another way. Like there has to be a secret. Why is other people seem to have it so easy and I was really struggling? And
Yeah.
I think we need to look at that parenting guilt as change. It's like a message that things could be different. And I think if we don't listen to that guilt, it turns to shame that we've got something wrong or that we're wrong. And for me, when I found language of listening, it answered all my questions, because I suddenly realized it wasn't me that had it wrong. It wasn't my daughter that was the bad child. It was, didn't have the tools. I didn't know what I didn't know.
Yeah.
And that was the beginning of my journey. And I studied with Sandy Blackard, the founder of Language of Listening, for 2 years to become the only authorized coach in the UK. And what I love about the training is that you not only go deep into the training of how to teach it and how to coach other parents with it, but you transform your own family. And I realized that my good child, especially with my boy, the good child, wasn't maybe good for the right reasons. And you start questioning everything you know about parenting and your role as a parent. And that's what I love about language of listening. It's the how to, because it's a 3-step, really simple coaching model that really, because I think, as you know, as busy parents, you were saying, it's such a simple, easy book to read.
Yeah.
You can read it, and no one has time to read these huge
Yeah.
parenting books. We
Yeah.
don't.
Yeah.
We're knee deep in looking after our kids, and to have something really simple. It's simple, but yet tricky sometimes. It's not always easy, is it, as a parent? But
No.
it's simple. But language of listening breaks it down to a 3-step coaching model that's
Mhm.
simple to implement in the moment, but also it's the why behind it, why we need to do it. And
Yeah.
together, I think it's the only coaching model parenting model that gives you that as well, gives you the whole package.
Lovely, lovely. Yeah, it's so true. Like, because after reading it, I read it a couple of years ago, and it's so it's so simplified, and it's almost like a common sense almost, but we just forget to use it. And it's such a great way of connecting. And I'm using it as well in my everyday life. And some people go, "You're being a therapist," but actually, I'm just connecting and communicating.
Yes.
But yeah, so like the three steps that you're saying, do you want to kind of explore that a little bit for the parents watching this, just to give them an idea?
Yes, definitely. I tell you one thing about language of listening is that it works with how humans work. When you understand this, the language of listening comes with the three core steps, which I'll walk you through how that works, but it comes with three core principles about how children work, not just children, but actually humans. And
Yeah.
I've had so many clients of mine come to me and said, "Oh my goodness, I've used that at work. I used the first step at work and I completely transformed the communication with somebody that was going to go like completely downhill, and they saved it in a meeting because they used the first step, the connection step." And I think when we understand how humans work, it doesn't feel like an uphill battle. I think with
Mm,
traditional parenting, taking things away and the rewarding our kids for short-term compliance, it feels icky as a parent because we don't want to be doing it, and it feels like a battle about you, but you feel like you're against your child. And
yeah.
language of listening is the first step. In language of listening is all about connection, because if we're not connected to our children, we cannot guide them.
Yeah.
It's just in fact, we need to be on the same side as our child. And when we're stuck with what we think is disobedience, or we're stuck in this judgment um, mindset that our job is to make our kids do things, then we're against our child, and it would always be a battle. So the first step in language of listening is something we call say what you see. And this is amazing because it gets you out of your head, out of judgment, and into actually what is happening in the moment, because that's where your kids live. Your kids, especially young kids, are very in the moment. That's where they live. And when we get on the same side and we get out of the judgment, we actually see what is happening. We can agree on it, and we can find solutions. And that's the next step, is the guidance part. So when we say what you see, you literally say what your child is doing, saying, feeling, or thinking.
Yeah.
And for example, how often when our children aren't listening, how often do we say, "You're not listening"? Yes,
Yeah.
and we tell them, "You're not listening."
Yeah.
But and we're so sure we can see not listening. I bet you're so sure, but actually you can't see not listening because it doesn't exist. It's not there. Your child isn't not listening. They
Yeah.
are maybe busy looking out the window or busy playing. So if we come in straight away, "You're not listening," it's an accusation, isn't it? Or that's how our children take it. Or or it's what we wish was happening.
Mm.
But you see straight away that accusation puts us against our kids. Our kids are then defensive, and then they're more likely to come back with, "No, I wasn't," and then it becomes an argument. When rather than saying "you're not listening," say what you see would be, "You're busy playing. Yeah, that looks important to you," or "You're telling me how much you don't want to have a bath right now." Okay, so you're validating your child's perspective,
Yeah.
and at the same time holding your boundary. Because in traditional parenting, I think, um, working with so many clients and seeing other people's comments on parenting Facebook groups, we think as a parent we only have two options, which is to give in to our kids' demands, or to come down hard and threaten and coerce our kids to follow our boundary.
Yeah.
And language of listening, yeah, don't you think?
Yeah.
Is that we
Yeah.
have
It's
these
one
two?
extent to the other. Yeah. Yeah. It's like a
Yeah, it's
seesaw.
like,
Yeah. Yeah.
yes, and language of listening, you get both. You get to the connection part is stepping onto your child's side, that connection part, and then you still might have to hold a boundary, which is the next step. So once you're connected and you understand what's happening, not in our judgment or our assumptions about what is happening, we move out of the judgment, fixing, teaching, or questions, and straight into just what is happening. And then we move on. Then there's two other steps. So the first step is the connection part. Then we have two other steps. When you see something you like, we offer a strength. Now, a strength is very different than praise, because typically when we see something we like, we praise our children, which is all about us. Good boy, or good girl, or well
Mm.
done. and we praise our children as if their behavior is actually we praise because we want that our child to repeat that behavior. Yes, we think that if we praise them enough, then they're good enough, then they'll repeat that behavior. But it trains our children to look outside themselves for validation. Yes, they have to come to us to see if they're good, or their peers, but further down the line. So strength is actually all about our child and pointing out our child's inner strength, which changes their inner voice of how they see themselves, and that's how they show up. So that's why it's so important. And one of the premises that goes with the strength is that children act according to who they believe they are. So it's our job to teach our children who they are. And if we don't see it first, if we don't see that strength first, then our children are never going to see it in themselves. So that's why traditional parenting, the telling off and the criticizing doesn't work, because that child then believes that's who they are. So our job is, as a coach, is to root for our children, see the best in our children, show our children that they can do it. So that's how we change. That's how we change behavior long term, because our children see themselves in that. And they see that they are kind, they are responsible, they are resilient. We point those out. So the children act according to that, not because they might please somebody or make somebody else happy. That's how.
It's kind of like the action that they're taking. You're validating the action instead of highlighting a generalized good girl, good boy kind of experience, if you could say. You're looking at their action and you're recognizing it and you're validating it for them. So it's like, I do notice sometimes, and it's no judgment, it's more of awareness thing, that myself included and some parents that I work with, they would recognize a lot of the negative behaviors and they'd validate the negative. And when a child shares something with another child, internally they think about it. Mom or dad thinks about it, going, oh yeah, they've been sharing. They're thinking about it, but they never verbalize it. They forget to, and I do. So it's something that we need to practice more of, recognizing the action that was taken. Like, I saw that you shared with Johnny, and that was a really kind thing to do. So you're recognizing the action, you're saying what you see.
Exactly.
So yes. And it's just bringing parents awareness to things. So like you did mention there earlier that like guilt is a strong emotion. And I do notice that moms, it's not a sexist judgment or anything, it's just moms feel that a lot more, because we're very in tune with ourselves and we're very we have a lot of emotions. Women tend to veer on the emotional side. Not that men don't, but guilt can be such a strong emotion, such a strong emotion. And one thing you mentioned before earlier as well, and you mentioned before when we were talking, it's like guilt means that you want something different from this. And it's a really good statement.
Exactly.
Yeah. Do you want to kind of explain that a little bit more?
It's
because
good.
Guilt is a strong feeling, yeah.
It is. Guilt is a strong feeling. And also, I think we think back how we were raised ourselves. A lot of traditional parenting is raised on guilt. It's like we make our children guilty if they misbehave. What were you thinking? Why were you doing that? You should have known better. Even a 2-year-old could do that. What's the matter with you? You're 5. We say these things, and maybe this is how we were raised. So we start doubting ourselves from a young age, that we've got it wrong, that we can't do it, that we should have known better. So we take these thoughts into our adulthood and into our parenting, that we should know better, that we should know another way. And if it's never been modeled to you, you can't do another way. When I was shouting like a banshee to my daughter every single day, I was only doing what I knew.
Yeah.
And the guilt, as I said, if we don't act on that guilt, it turns to shame. And that's why we do nothing, because we start, especially with the child as well, if we that guilt we use as a parent on our child, it turns to shame, doesn't it? I've got it wrong. Yeah. Why can't I do it? I should have known better. Yeah. And it's this awareness that enables us to differentiate between this shame that we turn inside ourselves, which become toxic and stops us taking action, and the guilt, which is, okay, I want answers. There's no shame in finding answers, finding another way that we can, and I think it's amazing to think that, I was shouting and threatening my kids and shaming them and blaming them out of love, because that's what I thought I needed to do. So it's not shame in that way.
Yeah.
It's we can only do what we know.
Yeah.
And looking back, I wish I had taken action sooner.
Yeah.
I had found answers.
And look, again, I think I share this in a lot of my videos or my communication with other people, is we're not one person is given a handbook on their individual child, so every child has a different personality. So no parent is equipped or tooled with everything that they need to work on that individual personality. But I do see that with the Say What You See book, it really generalizes everything. It also helps you to connect with each individual personality in your family life, even in your relationships outside of your family as well. It's just a really great way to connect. So look, can I thank you for sharing all that with us. It's really informative. Is there a way that people can connect with you, or have you got a website or anything?
Yes, I will. But also, before we wrap up, we haven't talked about the can do step.
Oh, share.
Yes,
Yeah.
I was in. I wanted to share that we talked about the Say What You See, which is the connection step, and then if you see something you like, you offer the strength. And in language of listening, we have another step, which is another guidance step, which is called the can do's. And I love this because this is about boundaries, but also it's boundaries in a completely new way. So rather than traditional parenting where we have the boundary and we have to punish and reward our child to stay within our boundary, this is understanding that it's our boundary to hold, and we support our child through strength training, how to stay within our boundary, and we support our children to first uncover what the need is in behavior, so all behavior makes sense. So when we understand why our child's behavior makes sense with the Say What You See part, we then can offer guidance, which is what your child can do within your boundary. So it's all about finding solutions together, so you get on the same side and you're supporting your child to focus on the can do's. This is the possibilities in life, which I think is such a novel way of looking at it, because when you're finding solutions and inviting your child in to find solutions, you don't have to control them. And even 3-year-olds can find their own solutions. It's amazing when you allow them to do that. And I think as a parent, I know when my kids were younger, it's really stressful feeling like you have to come up with all the answers, doesn't it? It's like you're the one who has to fix it and figure out how it's going to work. And actually, when you know what your boundary is, which is to be really clear on what it is you want, and then support your child to find the solutions within it, it's like a win-win. And it makes life so much simpler because you're actually fixing the real issue rather than just putting a plaster on and dealing with the same situation. Covering it up and controlling your children. So that's the 3 steps. It's the Say What You See, the strengths, and the can do's.
Lovely. Apologies, I actually nearly forgot that.
No, don't worry.
And can do is so empowering for kids. And again, it brings validation. Like the amount of kids I work with, they know what to do about a circumstance, or a situation that they're dealing with. They just need the empowerment to do that, or validation to do that. For instance, even just like dealing with a bully, for instance, and like if the child comes into the parent and says, oh, this person is bullying me and he's calling me names, and normally the parent's first reaction is to fix it and solve the problem. Whereas if you actually say to the child, what do you think we could do about that? So when you say you're already sharing it, and then when you actually ask them, they know what they want to do. They can just say, I'd say no, or I'll go and talk to a teacher, or I'll go and get support. They actually have the answers, So
and how empowering it is for that child to know that they can find solutions to their problems, that they can fix things, that they can do difficult things. That's setting them up for life. So they're going to be adults who can find solutions to their their problems.
Yes.
And that can start at 3 years old. Also,
Exactly.
the thing with the can do, yes, exactly. And also the thing with the can do, it's really important for parents to focus on what you do want. I was just working with a mum recently, and she said every day in lockdown, her kids are jumping on the sofa. And every day she's saying, don't jump on the sofa, don't jump on the sofa. And I was like, well, what can they do? And she's like, oh. And for a parent, it's really eye-opening to think, oh, I'm so focused on what I don't want. And when we focus on what we don't want, there's no possibilities there, because the child has to figure out then what to do within the boundary. They don't know. So when you focus on, you want to jump on the sofa, and jumping on the sofa isn't okay, there must be another way you can jump that's okay with me.
Yeah.
And the children started jumping on, making an assault course around the sitting room. Win-win, you see, rather than just telling them off for not jump.
Yes.
So for both,
Lovely.
it's so empowering.
Redirecting it. It's lovely, isn't it? Yeah. And it can be simple, but then like sometimes we fall off the bandwagon, we forget ourselves again, and we just need to rein it all back in. We kind of forget how to manage it again, and it's never going to be always right, so you're going to try out different ways as well. So thank you, Camilla. Thank you so much for coming today and sharing this with us. And how can people find you then? You do some parent coaching, yeah?
Yes, I do. I've got my website. If you want to come to my website, all the information is there on keepingyourcoolparenting.com. I have a website. And you can access. I've got a free How to Get Your Kids to Listen e-course there, which you can sign up for. I also have, it tells you all about how you can work with me one-to-one. And I've also got a Facebook group, a community that you can come and join, where I do lots of training as well, and videos.
Lovely. So I'll write that above this video as well, just keeping your cool parenting. And again, to get the book, I have a stack of them here myself. I'm going to be buying more as well, and you can get them online as well on Book Depository, on Amazon. Yeah, Amazon. Yeah, there's a load of places you can get them. Such a great little Bible.
Yeah, it's
so
amazing.
Thanks a million, Camilla, and yeah, we'll leave it for there, and hopefully we can connect back with you again eventually in the next couple of months, maybe. So
yes, lovely. Thank you.
Lovely. Thanks a million.
Thank you.